John Messingo. Here. Mr. Bryant, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to agenda item 2, the prayer and the pledge. Mr. Toscano, please.
Sir Trustees, we have Ms. Triana, Principal of Salado Intermediate School, with what appears to be some outstanding young ladies representing girl power this evening.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Mr. Toscano, Mr. Bryan, and Board of Trustees. We do have some outstanding representations of our students at Salado, and we are going to start off with the prayer and the pledge. So if you can please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this board meeting. Please guide the board in meaningful discussion. Allow us to nurture the bonds of the community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that affect the students, staff, faculty, and friends of Essential. And continue to remind us that all that we are here to do today, all that we accomplish, is in consideration of the students you place in our care. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to have to pull it off for y'all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación ante Dios indivisible con libertad y justicia para todos.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Honra a la bandera de Texas. Te prometo lealtad a ti, Texas, un estado ante Dios único e indivisible.
All right, thank you. Please be seated. So y'all can go that way, guys? Go ahead and set up. All right, so yes, one of the things that we do pride ourselves at Salado is we do have clubs that we offer for our students. And so as you can see, this is our Girl Power Club. And with our Girl Power Club, we have Miss Katina Hudson, and we have Miss Duana Harvey, and we have Miss Adriana Sepúlveda that oversee the club. So they do teach the girls, basically, Girl Power, teaching them how to be strong and in our community. And they also are going to do a dance for you today. So let me introduce some of the girls. All right, girls. Thank you so much, girls. You want to come right here real quick? We're going to be giving some gifts. It's a lot of hard practice in the morning early, parents getting them there early and after school. So we do want to thank their family. If you can please rise, we'll give you a round of applause for all the support that you have given them. And some teachers we do have here on our campus. So we just have a little token of appreciation. Miss Misty Flores, our fine arts teacher, did some creations with our students during fine arts time. And so we are going to give those to you today. So as you can see, it says La Hornet, because next year, in recognition that we will be a dual language campus and an EC Leadership Academy. So that is why we're getting. That's gracious of y'all.
Well, I had the pleasure of being on y'all's campus last week, and there's some great things going on over there, but it's obvious that the great things aren't just the facility. You have some wonderful students. Y'all did a great job this evening. We really appreciate you coming to start our meeting off. Thank you very much. We have some awards and recognitions that we'd like to give out this evening, and so if y'all would bear with us for a few more minutes, as soon as we're through with that particular agenda item, I promise that we'll take a short recess, and those of y'all who need to go do homework or grade homework can scoot on out of here, and we'll finish up with our business. So at this time, we'll move into our awards and recognitions. Mr. Toscano, please.
Sir, trustees, we have several employees that we're going to be recognizing tonight for exemplifying some of the values that we hold in regard in this district. In addition to that, this is National CTE Month, so we're going to provide the board with a little bit of an overview of some of the things that we've been doing and showcasing many of the students in their programs this evening. So we're real excited about that. Ms. Colas?
Mr. Toscano, President Bryant, board members, thank you for being here with us tonight. We've got some exceptional employees that we would like to recognize. And first on the list is Mr. John Ewers from the Transportation Department. He is our shop foreman, and he is being recognized for customer service and teamwork. He was nominated by Sergeant Fuentes from ECPD. And what was said about him whenever I asked around was that Mr. Ewers has created an environment of teamwork as the transportation foreman. It is evident that it is his intention for the shop to provide seamless service to all departments so that students receive exceptional service from the district. ECPD, custodial, maintenance, and other departments all appreciate that he ensures preventative maintenance on the White Fleet as quickly as possible so that staff are not without their vehicles for very long. He is proactive and goes above and beyond. One example includes his recommendation to install rhino liners in the gator trailer beds to increase use and protection of our resources. We appreciate and are very thankful for all of the work and customer service provided by Mr. Ewers. Thank you. Mr. Ewers also has some family members here, so son, okay. Yeah, woo! Thank y'all for coming tonight. Next up from Salado Intermediate, we have Caitlin Gonzalez and Tamara Reeves. These ladies were nominated by the assistant principal, Ms. Patricia Merlos, for adaptability. Ms. Gonzalez and Ms. Reeves have shown adaptability as they have seamlessly overseen our ARD process meetings with maximum success and have continued to be a calming force in the absence of our special education facilitator. So we have a staff member who is out for an extended period of time, and these ladies have stepped up to cover the position without missing a beat, and we appreciate you very much for that. Thank you. If there are any family members here tonight with these two ladies, thank you for being here. Next, we've got Louis Medina from Tradition Elementary. He was nominated by B. Conchola for personal accountability. We always talk about how students who are involved in school are more successful. They're more connected, they're happier. It's great to have kids connected to school. And Mr. Medina has done an extraordinary job. He heads up 2 after-school clubs for students for coding and for soccer. And the mission of his coding club is to instill a passion for computer science using a block-based programming language, and then for soccer to engage students in healthy physical activity through the training of soccer fundamentals. So we appreciate you spending all that extra time with our kiddos. Thank you. Do you have any family here tonight that we can recognize? Okay. But probably there's some tradition family out there. Next, we'd like to call up Mr. Paul Kowalczyk. Sorry. He has been nominated by Julio Alonso. He is a building mechanic and welder, and he was nominated for customer service. And when I asked around about him, I found out that he exemplifies the philosophy of ECISD. He consistently models personal accountability, fiscal responsibility, teamwork, and positive attitude. He has extensive knowledge and skills in the area of facility management and maintenance. He works collaboratively with all the trades in maintenance, custodial, other departments and campuses. He ensures that work orders and requests are completed with the highest degree of quality and efficiency. He is a collaborator and mentor. He is a motivator, a trainer, and a coach. He is an innovator of best practices. He enhances tools and resources for best use and efficiency, and he is an asset to the department and the district. So thank you very much. I think there are some proud family members in the back, right? Next, we'd like to recognize Ms. Kotzer from BCLC. She was nominated by Amy Graber, the principal of BCLC. And Ms. Graber said that Ms. Frances Kotzer is a cornerstone at BCLC. Her contribution this year has reflected adaptability to new systems, schedules, and processes. As the RTI lead, she dives into data with her colleagues. They identified a need, and she was asked to take over a course that she hasn't taught in many years, which she did not hesitate about. She only asked, how should it look? Ms. Kotzer has adapted her new schedule to the benefit of the BCLC students in a variety of ways, from making sure all students who are on the new schedule benefit, that they are academically screened, that they go through the new RTI process, that their GED prep and everything that she's doing for those kids is on point. She also has a full load of Algebra 1 students who, if you ask them, they will brag about the information that they are now being challenged with and their new confidence in algebra. So Ms. Kotzer models adaptability at BCLC daily for her colleagues. We appreciate you very much. Thank you. And I know she has BCLC family here, right? Yes. Yeah. Next, I'd like to invite up Ms. Holman, who will recognize some of our CTE programs.
Well, good evening, Mr. Toscano, Mr. Bryant, and members of the board. It's with much honor that I'm here tonight to share a celebration with you for National Career and Technical Education Month. Each February, school districts across the country celebrate the programs that prepare students for high-wage, high-demand careers. Here in East Central ISD, we are proud to boast 11 of the 16 nationally identified career clusters, which include agriculture, food and natural resources, architecture and construction, arts, AV and communications, business administration, education and training, health science, hospitality and tourism, human services, law, public safety and corrections, information technology, engineering, and manufacturing. These programs afford our students opportunities to gain technical knowledge, explore career and post-secondary options, earn industry-validated credentials and certifications, practice their skills in a real-world setting, and so much more. Aside from the instruction that happens in and outside of the classroom, our instructors take learning one step further by providing 6 of the 9 nationally recognized career and technical student organizations. The students that are here in front of you this evening are representative of over 900 students at East Central High School through their membership. This past school year, we were pleased to send 74 students to participate in state-level competitions, 13 students from 4 career and technical organizations to national-level competitions, and earned 1 more national championship to hang on the wall. Just in case you needed a little bit more proof of the power that career and technical education holds for our students, here's a few more numbers. ECISD career and tech programs currently boast a whopping 2,500 students at East Central High School. That's approximately 77% of our student population. We have 31 teachers who focus on exceptionally specialized career fields. We offer 129 CTE courses. We had 485 students who earned industry-validated credentials in certified nursing assistant, certified medical assistant, Adobe programs, AutoCAD, MSSC, NCCER, OSHA, floral design, pharmacy technician, and many, many more. There's currently 184 students that are leaving our campus every single day to attend internship experiences and practicum classes with business partners such as the other campuses in the district, daycare centers, the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, San Antonio Police Department, pharmacies, healthcare facilities, nursing homes, boutiques, and I could go on and on. On February 5th, we took 385 students to 12 locations citywide to participate in real-world job shadow experiences. We are also proud to be the home of one of only 2 programs in San Antonio and surrounding areas that offers a firefighting program to our students. Our CTE students are doing phenomenal things, and I would like to share just a couple of their stories with you very quickly. Ms. Whitney Waddell, health science instructor, stated that last year our CNA program certified 40 students at a 92% passing rate. 15 of their students returned to this program for the second year. These students are actively working in nursing homes around the southeast side in Lavernia, and additional students have created relationships with anesthesiologists, surgeons, pediatricians around San Antonio, and actively shadow them throughout the week. One student we have here tonight, Caitlin Real, is a CNA certified in the state of Texas, and she is currently working at Country Care Manor. She plans to pursue a nursing degree and specialize in pediatrics in NICU. Michaela Bickle is also here with us tonight. She's a first-year CNA student, and she plans to pursue a degree in nursing and specialize in labor and delivery. Mr. Frank Salinas wanted to identify Brandon Lewis. He said he's a great example of everything East Central High School students should be. This past summer, Brandon did an internship for the American Fire Protection Group located in San Antonio. He worked at a dorm at UTSA and assisted with installing their PVC fire sprinkler system. He also learned to cut, measure pipes, read blueprints, glue in fire sprinkler heads throughout the 3rd floor. He assisted answering phones, creating 3D models, helped testing water pressure systems in the new buildings, and so on. He's currently set to be competing at the State Skills USA competition in April, and after graduating, he's going to attend UT Permian Basin in Odessa. These are just a few of the incredible stories that we could share with you from our instructors on a regular basis. and I'm so honored to share them with you tonight. I'd like to introduce the students that we have tonight, if you could hold your applause until the end. Representing FCCLA, we have Rhonda Gare, a senior. Representing FFA, we have Braden McGee, a senior. Skills USA Construction is Brandon Lewis, a senior. Skills USA Culinary is Haley Tursick, a senior. Taffy is Sitlali Pina. She is a junior. Then we have Michaela Bickle and Caitlin Real, both seniors representing HOSA. From FBLA, we have Corbin Lubianski, who is a junior. And from our Explorers Club, we have Alaya Paz, who is a senior. I'd also like to take a second to recognize two other groups of individuals, our CTE instructors that are here this evening. If you're a CTE instructor, would you please stand to be recognized? And then also any parents of these students, if you're here, would you please stand to be recognized? Any parents? We thank you both for all that you do for our students. The students did have a small token of appreciation that we left for you at your seats. We want to thank you for all of your support of career and technical education. Without your support, we would not be able to prepare all of our students for the high-wage, high-demand jobs of the future. Thank you.
Wow. It's unfortunate that you don't read in the newspaper all of the successes that our students have. If one of our students or a student in San Antonio slips a little bit, it's front page. But these kids, these young people who work hard every day, and they're the majority of our students, excel over and over and over again. And it's heartwarming to see them here. So thank you all of you, for all that you do, for the students for taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented, and for the staff for presenting those opportunities. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. Good job. All right, we are going to take that recess that I promised you, and those of you who need to go, please go ahead. Don't feel bad about it. We'll continue on with our business. We'll reconvene at 7:05. Thank you. Okay, as promised, we'll get back onto our agenda, and we'll try and get through it as quickly as is reasonable so we can all head home. Our next agenda item is public comments. We have one individual who signed up to speak tonight, Michelle Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, please.
Hi, Board, Mr. Toscano, thank you for letting us speak. On behalf of other parents and community that cannot be here, I just want to thank the board for listening to the community input about arming teachers. We appreciate that the board is taking the time to educate themselves, research other safety options, and allow for the legislative session to play out before taking a vote on implementing the Marshall or the Guardian Plan. As a parent organizer, I can say that we will continue to be a voice for those who are opposed any plan that will arm teachers or staff, and we would love to see East Central be an innovator and a leader in school safety rather than setting a precedent to being to arming teachers in San Antonio. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next agenda item, superintendent's reports. Mr. Toscano, please. Personnel.
Trustees, this month's personnel report is on page 9 in your electronic packet. A little bit more activity as we start to move towards the spring time of year. You'll start to see that activity picking up, as is always the case. If there's any questions that you have or any additional information that you would like regarding any of those, please let me know and we'll get you that information.
All right, technology department update.
Sir, I'd like to call Dr. Dykstra and Mr. Sam Delgado up to the podium from our fantastic technology department. Their update, I believe, is on page 11, and it'll be the same update that they'll be projecting behind us. So if you'd rather follow along on your device as opposed to turning around, you're welcome to do that.
Good evening, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Toscano, board members and guests. It's great to be working here, and we're glad for the opportunity to share with you some of our successes this year. First, we'd like to thank you for your support of technology in the district. It has allowed us to make a number of improvements. This year, we were able to increase the connection speed between the high school and our network operations center from 1 gigabyte to 10 gigabyte, allowing the high school to have better access to the 10 gigabyte internet connection we put in last year. We were also able to continue the upgrade program for teacher laptops, and this year we're running between 130 to 140 that we're going to be able to be updating. We were able to install new fiber cabling between the different departments at high school, and as we replaced some of it, we found some of it, well, to be honest, we didn't know why it was still working. So we're real grateful to be able to do that before we had a problem. We also added a data professional position this year that has really helped our department improve our response time on data searches and requests that we have from the district. And we increased our security in a number of ways, one of which was moving our backups to a second location in the district. Along with that and much, much more, we really appreciate your support. This year when we were developing our goals, we took a look at one of the things that happened last year, and that was that we had replaced a number of staff last year, and we had a couple of staff members that moved into new positions. So we tried to focus our goals on addressing this lack of experience that we had. Goal 1, oops, back up please. On the first goal, we were taking a look at the performance of the staff as compared to what they had done in previous years, so we could get the people into the same area that we were at before. So we took a look at our things that we track on our scoreboard, like how many tickets are over 5 days old and how many tickets they get completed in a month. And we took a look at those, and we would compare our experienced staff with our inexperienced staff to see where they were. And before we started that comparison, we got together, Mr. Delgado and I, and came up with a new staff training program, and I'd like him to talk about that.
Okay. For the new staff training program, it's a 2-week process if everything goes perfectly, but it can go longer than that if we needed to. The first thing we do is sit the tech down, new tech, and have an introductory meeting with them. That's where we lay out the expectations, policies and procedures, emphasis on customer service in this environment. The second thing we do is, this is the 2-week training process begins. The first week, the new technician shadows the experienced technician, so they go out with them to their campuses and see how things work. The second week, we have the new technician actually get their hands on things and handle the work orders, and the experienced technician shadows them so they can provide feedback in real time. During this time, we have, I have at least bi-weekly meetings at the least. We can have meetings more often than that at the request of the new technician. In these meetings, I'll meet with the experienced technician by themselves, and we'll talk about we'll assess, they'll give me their assessment of the new technician, see where we stand. Then I meet with the new technician, and we discuss progress. I'll answer any questions, address concerns. At the end of 2 weeks, we'll determine whether the new technician is ready to go out, and the new technician, they have some say-so in that too. They may not be comfortable going out yet, and they want to learn a little bit more. Once they're ready to go out, typically at 2 weeks, we just continue to have follow-up meetings, at least weekly, with the new technician and see how they feel about things.
So here you can see some of the results that we have from that. The first one is for fall, the average work orders that they were turning in. The orange is our existing staff, and they had an average of 344, and the new staff had 339. So they're really very, very close on that. On the right-hand side, you can see the average number of tickets that were open beyond 5 days. Of course, we want them to close as fast as possible. But you can see that in this case, the new staff actually closed tickets faster than the experienced staff. I would say that they're actually probably really very close, because our experienced staff is going to take the more complex projects, which probably does take longer in some cases. So we're real pleased with this, the new staff in this area. On our second goal, it dealt with climate and also with customer satisfaction, with our main emphasis being on customer satisfaction. Our plan when we wrote the goal was to show you the BOSS survey results, but we hadn't received those yet. Fortunately, we had started in September, we started sending out surveys to people when their work orders closed and asking them about how we had done on their jobs. So we do have that information available. So let's go to the next slide. On the left-hand side, you can see some of the questions that we asked these people when we sent them out the survey. And the whole thing is rated on a 5-point scale. And so on the right side, you can see our existing staff, their average was 4.3 out of 5 points on satisfaction on the work orders. And the new staff actually did quite a bit better than that. So the new staff came in at 4.65. Some of that, again, may be because the existing staff got some of the more difficult work orders. On the third goal is fiscal awareness, and this covers a lot of area, cost awareness and attendance tracking, location accountability. But for us, a lot of times it deals with deployment. So location is something that we really look at, and we look at travel, you know, trying to be as efficient as possible. This year, Sam and I worked together quite a bit on trying to realign campuses and travel and make some adjustments. For example, with Tradition opening up, our travel costs should go way up. And so one of the things, you know, we worked out with one of the staff members is they're coming from that direction and they clock in up there. So we're not actually paying them to go and come back. We just clock in there and then they come to the campus. And so we were able, even though we had this campus so far away, to do pretty good on our costs. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the locations for the existing staff. They reported about 88 a month, and the new staff reported 97. So we're real happy with that. They're really on track of keeping us informed of where they are. And the travel expenses, which based on the fact that we were going to have a campus so far away, we thought were going to go up, you know, measurably. I think you can see that they're really pretty close and even a little bit less than they were last year. So we're real pleased with that. And again, the new staff and the existing staff are very close on how they performed. Our fourth goal is individual department routines. And this is a little bit harder to measure is how this goes. And so what we kind of look at is we have a feedback cycle in there so that we encourage the staff to give us feedback on what we're doing. And when we first started this, we really had to go out of our way, you know, a couple years ago, asking people for feedback. Sometimes we get a little too much now. So it's improved quite a bit. But just to give you an example of some of the things that happened, one of our staff members was talking about how we could just change some of our timing on some of the data polls we did so that we were able to get the stuff turned around faster. And in some cases, from the time it was entered into the student system until the time it was going into the application was 2 to 4 days. And we were able to knock 1 to 2 days off of that by working with some of the different organizations and aligning the timing on when stuff is sent and received. We also had, for logging into the network and logging into the computers, there's certain functions that happen. So we brought a consultant in to train on that. That was one of the ideas. And we were able to drop in about 1/3 the number of activities that take place in there by consolidating some items and eliminating things that were a little wasteful. Another idea that they had is we have this network monitoring software that sits up on there, and the red ones come up when something is wrong. But we would have to go through like 4 or 5 pages. And so the suggestion was, can we go through there and remove the things that aren't real serious, let the people who deal with that see that on their screens, but on our main screen, just see the real serious stuff. And so now we only have 1 page to look at. There's usually between about 5 and 15 lines on the page. So it's very easy to see if something goes down in the district, the red light pops up right away. We've got 1 screen in the back now and 1 in my office that show that when it happens. Another suggestion that came from the staff was at the beginning of the school year, we have all these work orders, and a lot of these work orders are on things and maybe computers that hadn't been used, or there was something old on the computer. And so at the beginning of the year, we go through a lot of this. And so we do the computer labs, a complete imaging on them. And the suggestion was, well, can we do some of the classroom computers? So we included the classroom computers, and most of the campuses really helped us with that. And we were able to image a lot of the classroom computers, and our work orders at the beginning of the year dropped way down, which allowed us to turn them around way faster, because we usually get way too many at the beginning of the year, way more than we can handle. We also restructured the iPad application process. That actually came a suggestion from a curriculum department on licensing so that we could be more efficient with the licensing and transfer them around better. That's still a work in progress, but it's been a big success on the licensing side. We got a few kinks to work out in that yet. I do want to say that the majority of this stuff we could not do anywhere near as good as we did if it wasn't for a lot of the people that are here today. The campuses and departments, you know, they help us all the time. We've been in many critical situations where we called and said, hey, we need to take this down, and people have really worked with us on that and provided us help. So we wouldn't have the success without the other people in the district. We really want to thank them too. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? I think we're good.
Thank you.
Trustees, if I may, so the technology department's the first department out of the gates to present their progress updates to the board. Just as a reminder, the board goal being to create an exceptional learning environment for students, and three performance objectives being performance, culture, climate, and fiscal responsibility. And you'll see that through the department presentations that the board goal cascades down through all of our departments. Just as well, all of our department leads will be presenting their goal updates to their colleagues on Tuesday, which is what we normally do annually to prepare them to also present publicly to you. So kudos to Dr. Dykstra and Sam for not having a pre-practice before they perform. They did a fantastic job, and their department does a fantastic job, as does all of our departments across the district. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item is update 112.
Trustees, update 112 is rather large, as you saw in your board book. There are 56 policies that TASB is recommending for amendment. The update 1012 is in your electronic packet. It begins on page 25, runs through page 444, but as is always the case, the document itself contains two tools for you. One is the explanatory notes, which gives you a high-level overview of each of those policies and the subsequent recommendations. And then the policy comparison packet is going to show you what is being stricken out and what is being replaced, so that you can see the language that was there prior to the recommendation. And then, as always the case, you have an executive summary in your miscellaneous packet, vantage points which are specifically designed for trustees, and I rely on it quite a bit. So I think it's designed for superintendents as well. So in the next month, as you review these policies, please reach out to my office if you'd like more detail, more information about any of the policies that are going to be reviewed by you this month. We'll bring these back to you next month for your consideration and approval. I would also like to point out in your miscellaneous packet that you do have policy DH local. It is employee standards of conduct, and it is also included in update 112. But after reviewing, which staff does review all of these policies that pertain to their department, there was a slight amendment in addition to the amendment recommended by TASB. So we included that for you, highlighted the small amount of language that we wanted to include for your review. And of course, when we bring the update back to you for the DH local, the update would include that extra sentence in that policy for your consideration. Be happy to answer your questions.
If there aren't any questions, then over the next month, if you have any questions, please get over to Mr. Toscano, and next month we will be adopting those updates. All right, item D, construction update.
Mr. Selby? That blew up. There it goes. I found it. But thank you.
There you go.
All right.
Nice
Good job,
build.
Mr. Selby.
Yes, sir. Mr. Toscano, board members. Yet another riveting update on the 2016 bond is going to be presented tonight. Tradition Elementary, we continue to work with the folks from Guido Construction on completing the punch list. They're getting closer, but still have a ways to go. Encouraging them in a number of ways to keep moving.
Tell us a little more about that.
Encouraging is by continuing to stay on top of them as to where they're at. When they say they've completed something, verify it and show them when they have not done it, even though they say they have. We have held back quite a bit of their money to make sure that they have at least the incentive to finish if they want their money, and are moving forward with the liquidated damages that we've discussed.
You got anything to add to that?
We'll be bringing that information back to the board in short order. We've got 2 sets of liquidated damages that we'll be presenting to the board, one for delays to substantial completion and potentially one for delays to completion of the punch items. So 2 different issues. We've also re-engaged our consultants that supported us with project management to get back involved in assisting us in nudging this along. We also know that that there is a statute of limitations on that for us. So we get to a point at which we feel like we're not getting reciprocated response, then we may look at other options for getting those tasks complete.
Okay, so that's my concern. Do we have any confidence at all that they're going to finish?
They continue to make progress on getting punch items completed. Not as quickly, obviously, as we would like, but they are making progress. So it's not as though that they have just disengaged or anything. They're just, the process is fairly slow. Once those subcontractors move on, it's difficult sometimes for them to get them back, but it also depends on the general contractors. That's why we pay them eventually when they get the job done. That's their job, is to make sure those subs do their job. And so I'm confident we'll get it done. It's just taking longer than we want.
Okay.
Patterson Center for the Performing Arts, same story again. They are continuing to work on the punch list items. Went by there this today. There's the majority of the items that have not been completed are things that we added on towards the end of the project through a change order. There are a few of the still some punch list items that they have to continue to refine. Consistently across the board, whether it's with the projects with Guido's brothers or with Joris, the one common thing that we're having most difficulty with is the controls for the mechanical systems and for the access controls. They're all using the newest models, and I think the models have outrun the technicians' knowledge of those systems. And so a lot of that is having to go through, work with our staff, technology department, our construction or our maintenance department, as well as with the general contractors and their subs to continuously check back and forth. And those are the consistent areas that we're having difficulty with. But we are working through those and have resolved a number of those problems that we've been having there. But it's not like it's a perfect world by any means. We're getting there, though.
And I'll tell you, I hear the same complaint from businesses like City Public Service. Their biggest issue with staff is in the technical controls environment. A couple of years ago, we had some conversation with them about maybe adding something to our curriculum for that kind of stuff. One of our CTE type courses. At one
Controls and
point,
instrumentation.
yeah, at one point we were talking with them about maybe even doing some funding through our programs for that kind of stuff. Those talks kind of fell apart when the leadership at City Public Service changed. But I know that that's still a constant issue for them, as it is with most construction companies. So we face the same hurdles ourselves, so.
Fortunately, we do have, as timely with the presentation from technology, Dr. Dykstra and his staff have been really instrumental in helping getting some of those bugs worked out that otherwise I certainly couldn't help with. I don't have that knowledge or ability, which they do. So that is fortunate that we have them. Going on to Salado, thought I'd give you a new picture there. Salado, we're into phase 4, as we had talked about. On the left is the exterior of Wing B. Wing B, they've started putting up the exterior siding, the waterproofing membrane, which you can see both the blue and then the what looks like plywood is a system of waterproofing that they use now, and that's moving forward well. They've started putting up the framing inside. They've completed most of the framing there and even have started some drywall installation. They have the overhead work being done right now in that wing as well as some of the plumbing rough ends have already started. Wing D is the photo on the right. Wing D is primarily all interior work. They've done all the framing has been pretty well completed. As you can see, they're putting up drywall or sheetrock. They've started an awful lot of the overhead work, including the ductwork as well as the sprinkler system installation started to go in. The electrical and plumbing rough ends are underway as well. The plan is for Wing D to be turned over by the end of March or sometime in April. That would allow us to move these to 4 classrooms, I believe, out of the portables and get them in there, and also give back 2 portables to the leasing company we're using. And so that will be very helpful. They'll complete Wing B by the end of May, and they'll turn that over to us right at about the time school's finishing, and they'll start into phase 5 as they get into that part of the project. Most of phase 5 there is the cafeteria. Fair amount of work. Harmony Elementary School, phase 4, a little further along in many of the areas that they're working on. They have all the framing done, the drywall's up. They've started texturing and even some painting in some areas. The overhead grid work is completed along with the ductwork, and the fire suppression systems are underway. On the left, you can see that this could be kind of the typical classroom. On the right, that's the floor polishing machine that they had brought in. They're just starting to do the floor polishing as well. They've done some of the painting, but they'll do final painting once all the majority of the other work is completed. So that's moving along very well. The plan is for phase 4 to be turned over in April, and actually would be over a month earlier, probably about 2 months almost earlier than originally planned. They'll be able, through working with the campus, will be taking over areas of the restrooms that would be part of phase 5. They'll go ahead and get those early and get a jump on that, and then also be working on the library as they're able to get access to that, computer labs, and then on into May through August would be administration suite, major renovations there. Con Valley, similar story. You're going to have on the left, you have a typical classroom. They've made major headway in getting all the ceiling work done. For the most part, they still need to put in lighting and a few other areas. You can see they have temporary lighting right now. The texturing painting has already started on the drywall. On the right is the beginning of the work they're going to do on putting in an ADA compliant ramp into that back part of the building. This is on the west side of Pecan Valley. That never has been compliant, and so we'll have compliance with ADA whenever that's done. They too are going to turn over that phase 4 by April. We'll look at moving classes out of the southeast corner of the building into phase 4. That'll give them phase 5 start on that, major classroom renovations there, and the restrooms in that area as well. Into the summer, they'll have some major work in the library and the cafeteria that they'll be performing. Sinclair, similar story. They've made major headway in getting the drywall up, textured, and already started some of the preliminary painting. Overhead work is still underway. You can see on the picture on the left, they've put in the ductwork, but they still have other work to be completed, and they haven't started the ceiling grid yet. On the right, a different classroom, a little further along there with the ductwork completed or near completion, and put in the ceiling grid. Also at Sinclair, they're going to look at turning over that phase 4 early. They'll allow us, through working with administration at the campus, to take over the library earlier than we had anticipated, which will give them a jump on the summer work that is part of phase 5, which is the library, a couple of classrooms in that area, and the administration suite renovations. John Glenn is making good progress as well. The renovations that are taking place there. On the photograph on the left is the new paving area where you'll have overflow parking for tennis, the PAC, and for stadium activities, as well as band would be able to use that for practice. They've already moved in the band tower. You can barely see that towards the end back there, but if it wasn't for the weather, I think they would actually be almost ready to start putting asphalt down. On the right is the renovations taking place in the gym. If you recall last time, they had just started framing. They've completed framing, continue to do electrical rough-ends, we'll begin texturing, I think, any time, and we'll continue to work on areas of plumbing into that area as well. So they're making good progress there. In the academic area, they've done the painting, for the most part, is all complete in that area, which is on the left, painting that was done in the classroom and hallways. On the right, they've completed most of the plumbing rough ends. They've put up the drywall. They should be starting to get ready for texturing before, actually by the end of this week, beginning of next week, and they continue to make progress as well. Even though that they were scheduled to be completed by the first part of June, their goal is to actually be completed by the end of March, beginning of April timeframe. So we'll see if they make it. The ECDC we continue to look at, and we're evaluating and doing additional review in the project scope there based on the proposed or possible uses of the facility. Once that is completed, we'll determine whether or not it's something that we can do in-house, because really what it looks like, the majority of that work doesn't need a whole lot of contract services, but we're still evaluating that. That'll be decided within a short time, and then we'll move forward and certainly give you an update on that in March. But the work that would be done would be over the summer, and it would be done out of fund balance. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Sobey?
Yeah, Dr. Guido, you said you were withholding money. Do you think they're dragging their feet because of your withholding the money? Do you feel that?
No, I don't think they're dragging their feet because of that. I have released a little bit so that we continue to get money to the subs, so they can't use it as an excuse not to show up. But at the same time, they're actually they're just being slow.
Yeah, they're being slow. Well, how long are we willing to tolerate the slowness?
Well, it's one of those things where if you continue, once we get to a point where we see that they're just not performing, then we'll send them, we'll go through the legal process of notifying them that they haven't performed. They have to be complete within a certain time. If they don't comply, then we take that part out of their contract and contract it out with somebody else. The disadvantage possibly there is that it gets into some potential warranty issues in the event that you do have problems, but hey, you gotta get it done, you gotta get it done. But that's, the reluctance is that if you don't go through certain steps with them, there could be legal issues that can come back on the district as well.
So how much longer do you think it'll be till they're done? I mean, do they have that many punch item lists that?
They don't have, they have more than, well, they have enough to where if they just get the subs back out there, and they are gonna have some of the work actually has to wait until like spring break, for example, because we aren't allowing them to disrupt classes. So there's some major work that needs to be done in the library, for example, at Tradition. Well, you could do that. You could even have them come in and do that at night, which is what we're making them do in most cases anyway. But once they're in there and there's gonna be a fair amount of work that's gonna totally shut down the library. So we're gonna make them wait and come back at spring break. So some of that is a scheduling thing that's been mandated by the district so that we continue to have operations of our schools without disruption because they didn't get the job done when they should have. So that's a little bit of what I meant by, and I didn't get into all the detail I should probably, but that's what I meant by you have to be a little careful in how you would just jerk that away from them if you haven't given them the opportunity to do it. And I know that's kind of going.
Well, that makes sense.
But yes, it's frustrating. I will say that like Ms. Gorham and her staff have been more than tolerant, although I do hear from them from time to time, and they should. They should be sharing whatever their concerns are on a daily basis if they need to. Other campuses as well. Although the work with Joris has been much better in many ways, it's not like it's gone perfect. And so, once again, the campuses at each of those 4 locations, the campus and staff administration and their staff have been very patient and worked through that. And whenever there are issues, the one thing that I will say is that a lot of that doesn't get to me because when they tell the superintendent of the concerns they have, they get addressed there before, in most cases, before it has to come up to my level. And I appreciate that. But it is one of those ongoing efforts with any project that there's no perfect project. There's always issues. The difference, in my opinion, between a good and a bad contractor is one that will accept responsibility for mistakes they make and make them right. And 2, work with you to solve problems instead of just saying that you are the problem. Because we make mistakes as well. I mean, there's mistakes in design at times. There's mistakes in what we understand is going on, and so, there's times where I jump on where maybe I shouldn't be jumping on them, and there's other times I should probably jump on them quicker than I have. But that's part of my job is trying to keep pace with all those things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for keeping your feet to the fire.
Mr. Selby, do you want to talk a little bit about the entryway vestibules?
Yes, that's excellent. Part of what we're putting together right now is upgrades to each of the vestibules at all of our campuses, with the exception of the high school. We haven't addressed the full scope of that work yet because it's going to be quite involved. So each campus already has been evaluated. Some of them have already had improvements done to them. So for example, at Pecan Valley, what we did was as you walk into the school, we had already done some earlier work in which you have doors that prevent people from just walking into the campus. But what we didn't do in the past was have bulletproof glass or doors or material that would prevent the glass, if it is shot, from just shattering and them being able to walk through that. So what we've done at Pecan Valley is in the entryway, once you walk in, the doors that you have there all have a bullet, have a type of material on them that prevent that glass from shattering. So it's not bulletproof, but if you do shoot it, it doesn't just fall apart where you can walk in. It would be, that doesn't mean you can't get in there, but it would be quite an effort to do so. It gives people time. The same way with the reception window. It is bullet resistant, bulletproof, whatever you want to call it. And even below there is material to where it is bulletproof. And if there was someone with a weapon, they could literally fall to the floor. They couldn't shoot through the glass. The opening in the glass is such where you can't put a gun through it. It bends down. And at Pecan Valley, they had a door that led into the administration area, and we replaced that door with a bulletproof door. And so we're looking, every campus entrance is going to be different to some degree. So every one of them, we're doing that same type of thing, but how we're doing it is going to be a little bit different depending on the situation at each campus. And so the goal, once again, is to provide protection and time for our staff and our children in the event of something horrible happening, such as an active shooter. And none of that will prevent someone that has total commitment and brings, firepower to overtake that, but it will slow things down, give people time, allow people to have a chance to live.
So will the same thing be done at Legacy and
Yes.
Island Forest with the glass?
Yes. So right now, what we already have the work done at Pecan Valley. Part of the work that should be done at both Harmony and Sinclair and at Salado will be to do those same things. We've also have design underway for some of those, but also with Heritage, Legacy, Highland Forest, and Oak Crest are all going to be part of that package we're doing. So by the end of the summer, the plan is to have all of those vestibules more secure with bullet-resistant, bulletproof type of materials. The high school needs a complete evaluation in more than just the front entrance. It would require a combination of fencing, gates that are more secure, but it's not, the high school is a challenge. Just so open, so big, so many ways in and out of there. There's not a simple solution to do it and still make it operational for students flowing in and out.
Yeah.
Without quite a bit more analysis, being honest with you, because we've looked at it several times.
I have a question,
Yes.
and it has maybe to do with construction or whatever, but, I know every office, is equipped with, cameras. They all have cameras and whatever. But do any of those cameras, face out
Yes.
to where the vestibule is there and they face out to maybe what's coming in the parking lot, or,
Yes.
right or left, like a severe
Yeah.
view where
Part
you
of-
can see where a car would park, or that someone looks strange who's getting out of a car and coming
Yes.
towards?
We do have multiple cameras at all the locations in the district now. Part of the bond project was to even add more, especially at elementary schools, which were a little bit more limited in number of cameras. But all of the campuses have cameras. And once all of this is completed, there will be quite a bit of coverage at every campus, both exterior and interior.
Anything else? I've not been to most of the campuses, but I was able to go to Salado a couple of weeks ago when they had one of the leadership presentations, and we got a chance to tour, and that campus is really, really changed. It's amazing what the learning environment looks like now compared to what it was a few years ago. Just very exciting what's going on over there. So thank you for that. All right, upcoming events.
Very quickly, it's your miscellaneous calendar for February and March. Looking at the month of March, spring break holiday, it's the week of March 11th. Actually, before that, weekend of the 2nd, Saturday the 2nd, we have our annual Hornets for Health Fair at the high school from 9 to noon. We have a lot of community groups coming out, a lot of vendors, a lot of folks to provide information for parents and students and community. Plus, we have a lot of staff that'll be out there, blood drives, all kinds of activities. And this will be, I believe, our third annual Hornets for Health. Very heavily attended, and if you have an opportunity, trustees, might be a great day to visit students and staff and community members out at the high school. On the 18th, we have a student holiday for staff training. 21st is next regularly scheduled board meeting. And then on the 23rd is our community's annual Sarah Stry Scholarship fundraiser from 5 to 12 at the Lavernia Chamber of Commerce. And I will say that that's the 10th annual, and that particular event will be changing its focus after this year. So it's the last hurrah, if you will, for the way that it had been functioning the last decade. It will continue forward, and I believe that it will be focused on East Central students going forward, but its scope is going to be much more limited than it had been up to this point. And so we're very thankful to Donna Solarchek and the Stry family for their contributions to the East Central community and its children, as well as neighboring communities and their children. So it was a great community event, and definitely something that we all have supported and should continue to support this year as well. Also in your miscellaneous packet, you have a brochure for the Summer Leadership Institute. Just wanted you to get on your calendar that it's in San Antonio, June 13th to 15th, as it is every year, downtown. So some information about that, and if you want to register for that, certainly get with Ms. Zotz and we'll get that taken care of for you.
Are there any deadlines coming up for the gala before our next board meeting? Table reservations,
So
contributions?
table sales, as well as raffle tickets are already underway. I believe if there's any donations for silent auction items, they'd like to have those by the second week of March, right? Yeah, second week of March, because they're gonna do the event it'll be on the 20th when they package them all. So if they don't have them by the 20th, we're gonna cut them off and save whatever we receive after that till next year. So if there's any donations for silent auction, they need to be donated, and we can contact Kathy Zotz on that. And if you can get them to her the week before the 20th, by then they'll be included in this year's fundraiser.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to our action agenda, item A, approval of Harmony Elementary School turnaround plan and board resolution.
Trustees, we'll call Jonathan Holbert up to the podium. Y'all know Jonathan very well when it comes to these kinds of things. Want to say in your packet, it begins on page 444, but also on page 461 is a resolution you'll be considering tonight. Jonathan will give you a high-level overview of this, but I will say that the essential component here from TEA is that the board is and superintendent are essentially noting and affirming that the leadership team at Harmony is skilled and able, and that if there were to be a principal change throughout the year at any point in time, we'd notify TEA. There will not be a principal change. And that we sought parent community input, which we did, site-based committee input, which we did, and that there's a clear focus and a sense of urgency in the plan, which there is, and Mr. Holbert will point those things out to the board. But that's the function of this particular requirement from TEA, and I believe it's relatively new. So, Mr. Holbert?
So it seems like, good morning, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Toscano, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly about our turnaround efforts here. It seems like every month I get an opportunity to share something from the accountability system with you. So this is a requirement from TEA for any campus that is in their second year of IR, and that's improvement required, and that's Harmony and Legacy. And so to a brief overview of the process, in the fall we started asking them about the new process that they were using this year for the turnaround plan, because last year we went through it with Pecan Valley. And didn't notify us until late October, and they basically said, here's the new process, and you're along for the ride. There was no real training or anything, but Stephanie and Nicole being very resilient and very easy to work with, no complaints, no excuses, just delivered on all the deadlines in spite of how aggressive TEA's timeline was for that. So I just want to draw the attention to how lucky I am to be working with so many great people. They call it the effective school framework. It's really the more we worked with it, the more we liked it. It's research-based system of kind of helping us chunk in and look at different components and say, how are we doing in different pieces of the school, and help us really be targeted and give us a blueprint for what we want to do next. And so part of that was an external audit where actually Region 20 came in, and we did some self-rating, and then they came in and they asked for evidence for everything. And they came in and interviewed teachers, they interviewed administrators, they looked at, I think they even went down to the detail of looking at calendars. So looking at Nicole's calendar and how the AP's calendars look like, and it was very, very specific and thorough. And after all that, they gave us a report and said, here's what we found. And so that went back to our CCG teams, and so that's campus leadership from teachers to campus administrators, and that team looked at all the results and said, this is what we're finding, and they started making the plan. And it's very, you've seen the full plan. It's very prescriptive and very thorough and long about all the sections. And there's part 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And you have different deadlines to submit different pieces of that. And so then, like Mr. Toscano said, we got input from site-based, the community. We posted that for 30 days on the website so we could get more comments and see how we want to improve that. And this is a requirement if they were to be in a 3rd year of IR. And it's something that the work we found actually meaningful, and we found that there were lots of value in the things that they've asked us to look at. So if you recall, Pecan Valley went through this last year in a similar way. Kristen's implementing the vast majority of her plan because we thought, hey, this is the work that is the most meaningful and best to help the campus take another step forward. And so our intent would be to regardless of what accountability systems say or TEA's requirements are, if these are the key things that research is supporting that we want to work on, that would become a blueprint for our work moving forward. Just briefly, taking a very high level look at it, these are the 6 big areas that they target and they rated each of the campuses on. The first one was really about the campus leadership. The second one was about staff and really being able to recruit and induct and bring them on board and really support and retain those highly qualified staff. The third one was about mission, vision, the goals of the campus, keeping it safe and having real high expectations. The fourth one was about the curriculum and looking at assessments. The fifth one was about daily lesson plans, and they get really specific about what they think effective lesson plans look like, and it's much more thorough than a lot of the tools we've had in the past. And the last one is about data-driven instruction. So that's just a very brief overview of the 6 big areas that they asked us to look at. For Harmony, after we looked at the evaluations and everything, the team selected the objective daily driven lesson plans with formative assessments. So getting really clear about what we're doing each day with our teachers. And then looking at regularly, the formative assessments about regularly measuring, how successful was this lesson? Is what we're doing working? And the second big piece there was about the data-driven instruction. So doing very effective instruction for our teachers every day. I'm going to give an overview also of legacies very briefly there. You'll see that they also are working on really specific lesson plans with the formative assessments. And their second category was about curriculum and the interim assessments. And when you see that interim word, I want you to think about like a little longer term, like a 9 weeks type test. So having great assessments that are aligned to the curriculum that they're doing, and matching that all up to the rigor of the work from our TEKs. And I would be delighted to take any questions.
Questions? So the plans that you're presenting tonight are work that's going to happen starting next year?
Yes, sir. It would really, if you think about our CCG plan as we know it now, as we looked at this work, it started to inform even this year's work. So we've actually begun incorporating our current plans to align it to this work. But technically, this work doesn't begin until next school year. And so it's really like a 2-year plan of what we would be doing the next couple of years.
Okay. But starting some of these, since they're already recognized, you're starting some of them now, but the formalized plan is for next year.
Yes, sir.
But you're, in some ways, really mirroring what's already happened at a couple of other campuses, and those have brought us results. And so if we follow the plan, we'll have some results.
Yes, I speak regularly with TEA, and they said, look, we really feel like eCentral is doing great work here, and that you guys are on the right track. And they said, you know, it's something. It's hard to put a timeline on that. It's hard to say, you know, you're going to get this score on this test on this day. But they said we don't have any doubt that if you guys keep working as you're doing as a district, that we will be seeing the results, and that you're engaged in the correct work, making the right plans. And I thought that was a real affirmation for the great work our people are doing.
Okay.
I have a question. For instance, on legacy, you said that the curriculum and everything would look at, like the word intern, it would be like a 9-week assessment on how the work is,
Yes, ma'am.
how they're responding grade-wise and so on with the work. What happens, isn't 9 weeks a grading period, and is there a way that you would know in between there, maybe like
Sure.
not wait till the grading period is on,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
9 weeks, but we know it maybe in the middle how it's looking, or are we doing 9 weeks because we're doing it at other campuses and it's working that way?
Yeah, I don't mean to oversimplify and say that's the only measurements that we take. We have a balanced assessment framework that you know, there's a number of assessments we do from beginning of the year screening. If you look at what they said about lesson plans, you know, formative assessments, we're talking about every time a teacher is doing a lesson, we want to measure and see, you know, did the kids get it, to what degree, and what do we want to do next. What they're saying is that there's high yield in looking at a 9 weeks and saying, hey, what are those key things, and how did you do on them, and then let's make adjustments at a high level to make sure that at the end you hit the mark. And that's something that they said the research is really supporting, that we want to make sure that those are incredibly well aligned and high yield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So are the things that we're talking about doing still aligning with the community-based accountability system as well? Because we've talked about that on a number of occasions, that all of these things that we do, some of them are designed to improve some of the state assessments, but we also want to make sure that we're still following our community model as well.
Yeah, and so what Mr. Holbert is talking about specifically pertains to state accountability and the requirements associated with it. But as he also mentioned, our continuous improvement model takes into consideration the whole education of a child and its alignment to values and interests the community has for the educational outcomes. And it's about total improvement. And so whether or not the state requires this kind of continuous improvement effort at any specific campus or not, all of our campuses function as if they're improvement required. They all use a continuous campus growth process. They all use an effective school framework. And as he mentioned, the fact that this is required over a 2-year period of time, many of these things are already being implemented because of our improvement model has identified that these are some opportunities, and these are research-based best practices. And so we're not really waiting on the state of Texas to tell us what we have to do or don't do.
Yeah.
We're just all about doing the best we can for kids continuously. And so to the degree to which we can align that effort to what the state requires so that we're not doing something only to comply with the state is the degree to which we feel like we're doing the right work in the right way. But it's an ongoing struggle.
That's a lot. Thank you for that work.
Yeah.
This plan looks good.
Thank you. Like I said, I really want to give credit to the campuses and the amazing work they did. They'd without their hard work, and it was months of lots of focus from them, and I appreciate them, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Thank you for that presentation. And we've had a presentation on both campuses, and we're going to take an agenda item on each campus separately, okay? So, we are on item A, which deals with Harmony Elementary School.
Yes, sir.
Scotto, I believe we're
Mr.
ready for
President,
you, sir.
trustees, I recommend board approval of Harmony Elementary School's turnaround plan and board resolution as presented.
All right, we have a recommendation from the superintendent to accept the Harmony Elementary School turnaround plan as presented. Chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion by Ms. Presses? No. Ms. Barrientos, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Presses. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item B, approval of Legacy Middle School turnaround plan and board resolution.
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of Legacy Middle School's turnaround plan and board resolution as presented.
We have the superintendent's recommendation to accept the Legacy Middle School turnaround plan and resolution as presented. Chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion by Ms. Barrientos. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Ms. Presses. Deja vu all over again. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item C, construction project delivery contract award method asphalt project at East Central High School.
Trustees, as part of our capital improvement project program for this summer, we're in need of some asphalt seal coating and asphalt repair projects. We've prioritized some work at the high school above several needs there in the area of asphalt repair. And as per board policy CV local, prior to advertising for any construction project that could be valued above $50,000, the board needs to determine and approve the project delivery and contract award method that would be used for such project. After reviewing the scope of this project, staff is recommending that the board considers approval of the construction project delivery contract award method of utilizing competitive sealed proposals and securing a contract for the asphalt project at the high school. I'd be happy to answer any questions board might have about any of that.
Any questions? No?
All right, Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the construction project delivery contract award method utilizing competitive sealed proposals in securing a contract for the asphalt project at East Central High School.
Have a recommendation from the superintendent on the asphalt project at East Central High School. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Ms. Barrientos. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Massengale. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item D is a board item. Review and adopt the East Central Board operating procedures. Each of you've had the standard board operating procedures for a while. Is there any changes or adjustments that need to be made to that document? No? All right. Board will entertain, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the East Central Board operating procedures as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Massengale. Is there a second? Have a second by Ms. Barrientos. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Consent agenda. Does any board member wish to have a consent item pulled from that agenda? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Massengale. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Presses. The consent agenda is approved via unanimous consent. We are now moving into executive session. The Board of Trustees on February 21st, 2019, beginning at 8:05 p.m., convened in a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.074, personnel matters. All right. The board ended its closed meeting at 10:15 p.m. On February 21st, 2019, no action was taken in the closed meeting. So item 9 is reconvene from closed session. We are reconvened. And item 10, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. We are adjourned via unanimous consent. Thank you very much.